I never thought it would come to this. A simple vacation, a secret getaway, something I told myself I deserved after years of being stuck in a routine. But I didn't just go on a trip, I ran away. And when I came back, everything had changed. He was gone. My husband. The man I had shared a life with. Gone forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. It all started months before I even thought about blocking him. I had been suffocating under the weight of our life. Marriage, kids, bills, responsibilities. It was like a never-ending list of things to do, things to take care of. But my heart, it was empty. The spark was gone. I remember the day it started. I was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone, trying to distract myself from the fact that I hadn't had a meaningful conversation with Ryan in weeks. My best friend, Grace, sent me a message. "I've been thinking. You should take a trip. Just for you. You deserve it." I've been telling myself that for years. But there was always an excuse not to. The kids, the house, the responsibilities. But Grace's message was the final nudge. I needed an escape. A few days later, I found myself booking a flight to Paris. I didn't tell Ryan. I didn't want to hear his concerns, or his complaints about how I was just running away from my problems. I didn't need any of that. What I needed was freedom. I had a secret. I was seeing someone. His name was Leo. I met him at work, and at first, it was just harmless flirting. But before I knew it, we were exchanging texts, meeting up for lunch, and eventually, we started having an affair. It felt so wrong, but in those moments, I felt seen. I felt desired. Something I hadn't felt in years with Ryan. It wasn't that I didn't love Ryan, but I'd become resentful of the way our marriage had turned out. He had his job, his routine, and his hobbies. He was a good father, but somewhere along the way, I stopped being his priority. I stopped being his person. I was just there. He had stopped looking at me the way he used to. And Leo? He looked at me like I was the only woman in the room. As my trip to Paris got closer, I started to panic. I couldn't face the guilt of seeing Leo again. I couldn't go back to my life and pretend everything was normal. So, one night, while Ryan was out working late, I did something drastic. I blocked his number. It wasn't malicious, I told myself. I just needed a break. I needed time to figure out what I wanted. I needed a space where I could breathe without worrying about what he'd think, what he'd say. I didn't want to talk to him until after my trip. The day I left, I felt lighter than I had in years. I had no idea that this decision would spiral into something I couldn't control. I arrived in Paris, and it was everything I had dreamed of. The city was buzzing with energy, and for the first time in ages, I felt alive. Leo met me at my hotel, and it felt like we were in our own little bubble, disconnected from the real world. The affair wasn't a secret here. It was just us. There were no expectations, no responsibilities, just passion. We spent our days exploring the city, eating croissants at cafes, walking hand in hand by the Seine. It was everything I had been craving. But with each passing day, I felt a gnawing sense of unease. Ryan's face kept appearing in my thoughts, his voice echoing in my head. What if I never went back? What if this was it? But the thrill of being wanted, of feeling alive, kept me in the moment. But I couldn't ignore the texts anymore. Ryan had been calling me non-stop. I couldn't bring myself to answer him. Every time I looked at my phone, I felt a stab of guilt. But I also felt this rush of excitement, like I was living on the edge of something forbidden. The days flew by in a haze of passion and guilt. But as my return date approached, reality started to hit. The last day of my trip, I told Leo that I was going back home, that I was going to face the consequences of my actions. I was still married to Ryan, and no matter what had happened with Leo, I had to go back to my life. I'll miss you, Leo said, his hand brushing my cheek as we stood at the airport. I'll miss you too, I said, feeling a pang in my chest. But I wasn't sure if it was love or the guilt of leaving him behind. When I arrived home, the house was eerily quiet. The kids were with my mom and Ryan wasn't there. I called him, but it went straight to voicemail. My stomach twisted. I checked my email and saw a message from him. I can't do this anymore. I need space. Please don't try to contact me. My heart dropped at first. I thought it was a joke. A part of me thought he was angry, that he would come back and everything would return to normal. But as the days passed and I heard nothing, the reality of it sank in. Ryan was gone. He had left. I searched the house, looking for any clues, any signs of where he might have gone. But it was as if he had just vanished. His clothes were gone. His toothbrush. The places we used to go. Gone. I couldn't help but feel this wave of anger and confusion. How could he leave without a word? Without telling me what was going on in his head? But then, as I sat in our living room, the weight of my own actions started to hit me. I had blocked him, abandoned him, and neglected our marriage. And he, in turn, had left me. I had been so caught up in my own desire for freedom, for escape, that I didn't stop to think about the damage I was doing. Ryan wasn't just my husband. He had been my partner for years. But I had let someone else fill that space, and now I had nothing left but the echo of my own choices. Days turned into weeks, and Ryan never came back. I hired a private investigator to track him down. But nothing. It was like he had disappeared off the face of the earth. And the worst part, I didn't know if I was relieved or heartbroken. I kept asking myself if I had ruined everything for a brief affair, for a trip that was supposed to help me find myself. But all I found was the truth, everything I had been avoiding. I had blocked him, sure. But in the end, I blocked myself from the life I truly wanted. In the end, I never got closure. Ryan never came back. And I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for how I handled it. But I've learned one thing: the things we do in secret don't stay secret forever. They always come to light. And when they do, we have to face the consequences.